Started. We want to welcome you to tonight's virtual convention session. This is actually marks the last session of August, so we're glad that you chose to be with us tonight. My name is Brian Root, and I'm from the Kiwanis Club of Greensburg, and also a member of the Pennsylvania Kiwanis Foundation Board, and I'm your moderator. And here briefly, we're going to introduce our panelists. Tonight, we're going to talk to our signature project winners here in Pennsylvania. So we have Marianne Maresca, the club secretary of the Sheridan Kiwanis Club, who is going to talk to us about Sheridan's biggest bedtime story. And then we also have Mark Freeman here tonight. He's going to talk to us about the Lidditz Chocolate Walk. And he is with the Lidditz Area Kiwanis Club. And then lastly, we also have with us tonight Ms. Valerie Brown Klinghoffer from the Centennial Internet Kiwanis Club. And Val is here tonight to talk to us about the elephant in the room, and that's COVID-19 and how COVID has impacted our service projects, our fundraisers, and even our meetings. Val comes with a lot of great ideas tonight, and we're looking forward to hearing more about some of those ideas. At any point throughout this evening's session, if you have a question, you can post it in the Q&A, and we will either answer it in real time, or we will make sure to circle back around towards the end of our presentation to address your question. But with that being said, we want to jump into our first panelist, and I'm going to turn it over to Marianne so she can talk to us about Sheridan's biggest bedtime story.
Good evening, Pennsylvania Kiwanians. I'm the secretary from the Kiwanis Club of Sheridan, that club which sponsors the biggest bedtime story in our community. First, let me give you a little background on the biggest bedtime story. Originally, it was a City of Pittsburgh project that was held at the Peterson Events Center on the University of Pittsburgh campus. It had many corporate sponsors and assistance from the programs Read 365, Reading is Fundamental, and Beginning with Books programs. It was an evening of fun for young children to sit and listen to local personalities and celebrities, read some of the latest trending children's books, provide a snack, and a book to take home. 1,000+ children participated each year, and our Pittsburgh area Kiwanis Club members did what they do best. They volunteered their energy and their time one evening to help the program run smoothly. In 2010, the program was discontinued and there was a decline in corporate sponsors. And that is when one of our Sheridan Club members said, "Why can't we do something like that in our community?" So on Wednesday evening at 6 p.m., March 2nd, 2011, which just happened to be Dr. Seuss's birthday, our club held its first biggest bedtime story. The first requirement, all attendees, including Kiwanians, should wear their favorite pajamas, and the kids were encouraged to bring a blanket or a pillow. As I have listed on the 7 steps on this slide to assist you in planning a biggest bedtime story in your community. First, selecting the venue. We started out large at our American Legion Hall, which had no smaller rooms, just one big space. We could host a large group of children, and that was our goal. But as we found, the acoustics were terrible, and not everyone could hear because there were sidebar conversations, since we had about 130 children and their parents all in the hall at the same time. And we paid a professional storyteller to help facilitate the event. So next we took it into a local school classroom of primary grades, but because we could only meet with one class at a time, we had to repeat it several times, and one time it took a whole day to get through all the classes. So after several years of experimenting, we moved the event to a local library where we felt it had a reading area designated and provided a much more intimate space conducive for the event. It introduced many of the children and the parents to the local library facility and the offerings that they could have while they're there if they visited again, and they could even apply for a library card. We also did away with a professional storyteller and spent the money on filling kids' gift bags. So you have to choose what works best for your club. Secondly, we picked a theme. Each year we selected a different theme to add variety and not be the same old year after year. Some themes we've used were outer space, Dr. Seuss, music, using local political leaders because they sure love to be in the spotlight, first responders, because we wanted kids to feel comfortable anytime they saw a policeman or a fireman in the neighborhood, nursery rhymes, and the circus. You could even extend it to include a pediatrician and a nurse so that the kids feel comfortable with visiting them. So the third thing we have, recruiting guest readers and what books will they read. We usually have 3 different books read during a session, and at least one of the readers is a professional tied to the theme we've selected. So in the case of outer space, we had a university professor from Pitt who worked with NASA. We had, in the previous slide, you saw the picture of our club president dressed as the Cat in the Hat for the Dr. Seuss themed day. We had a musician who played the sitar, and that was the one about music. Our city mayor and Allegheny County executives were readers. We had our chief police commander who brought in several officers and a K-9 officer, so the kids were thrilled to see a dog. We, as I mentioned earlier, we had a professional storyteller, only that cost us about $450, and we thought we could well spend that some other way, using the volunteers to come in and read. You could have a professional clown, and again, like I said, your local pediatrician or a nurse. Our second reader of the evening is always a Kiwanis member, and we are very lucky to have a retired English teacher in our club who has a great reading skill and lots of expression, and also is a semi-professional actor. Our third reader is also our local librarian, so that the kids would feel comfortable knowing that person when they would return to the library. The next section is planning related crafts. People always arrive early to events, so you have to have an activity to keep them occupied until the actual program starts. We set up 2 to 3 stations in the library where our members assist the children in making a craft tied into the theme of the event. Many of those crafts can be purchased at Oriental Trading, or going on to Pinterest, which has great ideas, or just a general search of the internet on that particular topic. Giveaway bags. We always have gift bags for the kids. We hear about branding from everybody in Kiwanis all of the time. So at the end of each event, so the kids aren't shuffling through the bag during the readings, each child is given a yellow Kiwanis Club of Sheridan bag to take home, and it's filled with some of these items. We always include a club brochure and, of course, an application. A brand new book that we purchased from our local Scholastic Book Warehouse in Pittsburgh. A gift from the local state representative, which is oftentimes a coloring book and also an animated book telling them something about the Capitol in Harrisburg and the offices there. Our local PNC Bank usually gives us some giveaways for the kids. Sometimes it's a CD of reading materials. Other times it's, crayons and markers and pencils with their logo on it. In addition, we always provide pens, pencils, and crayons in the bags, because I know as a retired teacher, when you send a project home for the kids to do, they'll tell you, well, we didn't have any pencils at home for me to finish. So this way we kind of ensure that they have the materials that they might need for a project at home. We also put in Mr. Yuck stickers. We can provide materials in a baggie so that they can take it home and make their own bookmarks. One of our club members sews and made 50 new pillowcases to give each child an animated character fabric pillowcase for their bed when they got home. Another friend of our Kiwanis Club made fleece blankets for each child. Another friend crocheted winter hats that we can include in the gift bags. And finally, another person made these little pillows that looked like little Scotty dogs. So they were all related to that bedtime theme. And who doesn't like a raffle or a door prize? Well, we don't charge anything for any of our events, so it becomes a door prize. You can solicit donations from local businesses for gifts that they might like to offer, or just simply a cash donation that you can use to purchase some items for the gift bags for the kids, or purchase a door prize. We sometimes buy extra copies of the books that are being read that evening and give a few copies away. When we're at Scholastic Warehouse, we buy extra books and posters. Kids like to put posters up in their rooms, so we try to select posters that are themed with something that's current with the kids and not something that's from 20 years ago. And sometimes we'll have extra backpacks with school supplies as part of the door prizes. Now, who doesn't like a snack when they go somewhere? So we research a snack that can be tied in with a theme. For instance, when we had the Dr. Seuss theme, Green Eggs and Ham, of course, is one of Dr. Seuss's famous books. And Brian, can you switch to the next slide? Up in the upper right-hand corner, you should see a little foil with a pretzel and some white icing on it and some green M&Ms. That's representing our green eggs and ham. We also had little bags filled with the multicolored goldfish now that go along with Dr. Seuss's one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. We also have had granola bars, animal crackers, trail mix, but you've got to be mindful with that because children have peanut allergies. So it's good to ask parents if that's a good thing to give them when you're handing out the treats. Rice Krispie treats, and we also provide a juice box or a bottle of water or Capri Sun for the kids to have something to take home while they're eating their snack. If you look at this photos on the slide right now, you'll see some of our members. The gentleman on the bottom left is passing out a fleece blanket to one of the kids. And then in the center, we have one of our members there making some of the crafts with the kids in what section of the library. And right above Brian's head there, you'll see, or is it my head, because I'm seeing Brian, you'll see the yellow Kiwanis Club of Sheridan gift bag that we give each one of the children so that they can fill it with the things that they need. Oftentimes, the librarian has been very gracious and has had the library decorated to go along with the theme, and has also pulled out books off the shelves that the kids may be interested that go along with the theme. One of the important things we found that was advertising was really pertinent to this. We find that you can never advertise enough. Even though 1,000 people may see your advertisement, maybe you only see 100 people. We always post all of our events on our club Facebook page, and we also ask our members to repost it on their individual pages. We try to get local news coverage as much as we can, but it seems that good things aren't always the things that we see in our newspapers. It's always the bad things we see advertised. But we try our best. We distribute flyers about the event to the library and to the local daycare centers, post announcements in the local church bulletins, and we have a community bulletin board in the business area of our small community, and we put a big poster announcing all events there. We're lucky to have a great partnership with our local school, and they post it on their website. They email our flyer to all the primary grade parents, so they have a heads up notice ahead of time. And then they are kind enough to put a robocall message to all the parents the week of the event. That's all I have.
Thank you, Marianne. Marianne, a couple quick questions. What does this event look like this year because of COVID? Has your club discussed what this might look like and how that it may need to change?
Well, we're focusing right now on our event coming up, the Halloween event, which we usually have outdoors, but we also have close proximity. So we're focusing on that. And I think we're probably, since we do this in March, we have a little bit of time to think about this. We may have to think of a bigger venue and limit the number of participants in it so that we can keep social distancing. Of course, with any of the events that we've had recently, we've required everybody to wear a mask. We've been taking temperatures when people have been coming in, and have had no resentment for those requirements. People have been very cooperative and understanding, and I think they're at a point where they want to protect themselves as well as protect others. So I think the biggest thing will be we'll have to have a larger location the next time, because the library is not very big.
Okay, thank you.
I see a question up there in the question, what is our
Yeah.
budget and how many kids are served? Well, when we initially did it in the, held it in the American Legion, we had like 130 kids attending. And then with parents, so you had almost 200 people there. But again, it wasn't really a good location to do what we were going to do. So at the library, we get anywhere between 40 and 50 children. It's on a school night, because we try to have it on a Wednesday before or right after Dr. Seuss's birthday, and it starts at 6 o'clock. So usually our greatest amount has been 50 children. And then they come with their parents or an older brother or sister. And
Okay.
let me see. Sound like a great plan. Do you have this written, a sense of providing another club to reproduce? Okay, Charles, I'll make sure that you get something.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Marianne. It was great to hear about your project. Those of you watching tonight, if you think of any other questions you'd like to ask Marianne, we'll circle back around. Or you could also type them in the Q&A, and Marianne could actually respond to them right there. So with that being said, we want to move on to hear from Mark Freeman from the Lidditz Area Kiwanis Club, and he's going to talk to us about the what I would call famous chocolate walk. I've never participated, but I've heard lots about it. So Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Brian. Marianne, first of all, your green eggs and ham, that would fit very well into the chocolate. So we may have to do that sometime, because that is exactly the type of thing that chocolate walkers love to see. And that is something unique and different, and obviously tastes good and appeals to their senses that way too. And so we could tie that in and even tell people about what you do. So 20 years ago, about this time of year, we sat at a meeting, and the club was lamenting about fundraisers and the challenge of going out and doing them, and said, it'd be great if we could come up with something that we would all enjoy doing. So raised the idea of doing a chocolate festival in Lidditz, and the gentleman sitting across from me was the head of the Lidditz retailers, and he said, that idea has legs. And that was the start of the chocolate walk. We spent a whole year trying to come up with a concept that was different, because we're right down the road from Hershey. Hershey has a big chocolate festival at Valentine's Day. That's all in one location, and we didn't want to replicate that. We wanted to do it at a different time of year, and we really wanted to showcase our town. So we came up with the idea of sending people around the town into different businesses to be able to see different businesses, as well as experience the town. So in the first 18 years, which ended last year, we had over 1 million chocolate treats that were consumed, and we've raised over $700,000 for the children's charities in the area. The event brings together the community, business, and charities, and really focuses on the fun and the fundraising. Everyone that participates really has fun. It's just a great day, from the people that do the walking, to the people that are serving, to the people that are just helping direct traffic. I always say it's the happiest day of the year in Lidditz, because people just are enjoying all parts of it. I remember walking behind a woman one time, and she goes, I get to do my 3 favorite things. I get to shop, eat chocolate, and walk. So the benefits really are kind of spread out and through everyone that participates. The shop owners, we put the chocolate, locations in the shop. So they go in there. So when they're getting their chocolate, then they tend to buy stuff along the way. Obviously, the charities benefit, and we need about 150 volunteers to put this on. So we really rely on the different charities that we work with to also supply volunteers that day. And it really creates a value for the community, because we get people that come long distances from other states. We've had one couple that about every other year has come from Minnesota. We get a group coming up from Florida almost every year. So when they come, they spend a night or two in the hotel and they stay around the area for a while. And for us, over that 18 years, it's also learning from our mistakes and adapting to change. And seeing, so we do a survey at the end of every year, just an online survey where we ask for people's comments. We ask what their favorite things were they got that day, so we can continue every year to try and improve upon what we do. Want to move on there, Brian? So this is a map of our third chocolate walk in 2003. And you can see we had 19 locations that day. Our first chocolate walk, we had 12 stops. Year 3, we had 19. And this was the year we knew we had something very special, because it rained in a huge way that day. I would guess it was 4 to 5 inches of rain. And so this little map was a piece of paper. In most people's hands, it was shredded. It was all wet, and people were wearing garbage bags to keep them from getting wet. But as we walked around and talked to people and apologized for the weather, they said, "We don't care, it's chocolate." And we really had a lot of fun that year, even with the disastrous weather. Do you want to move on to the next slide, Brian? These are 2 people that have been really crucial in making the chocolate walk a success. The gentleman on the left is Steve Evans, and next to him you'll see a key clubber helping out. But Steve runs a little chocolate candy shop about 10 miles from here. And it really took, I think it was 2 or 3 years before I convinced him to come do this, and he's never stopped ever since. And I call him my poster boy for the chocolate walk, because a lot of the chocolatiers give out a small piece of chocolate, and we have 2,000 people that participate, so 2,000 pieces of chocolate's a lot. But this guy recognizes the value to his business, that he sees 2,000 potential customers going by, and he'll actually encourage people to eat one in front of him and then take one in their basket. And the other thing that he does is he actually brings, like if you go under that table, it's stocked with boxes of chocolate. And the people that see him every year will actually buy a box or 2 of chocolate to take home with them. So he gets that benefit as well. But you see that boy in front, he's got his mouth stuffed with a piece of chocolate. And we tend to have a large percentage of women that do this. You'll see like a mother from Pittsburgh, a daughter from New Jersey, and a sister, that maybe lives in the area and bought the tickets that come together, and families. And so it's really a wide-ranging group of people that shows up. On the right is a lady named Kathy Blankendiller. Kathy is a chocolate artist, and for many years she would design things that she would show. And I mean, some of them were very extravagant. And so that was also an added benefit to have someone like that could spend hundreds of hours creating something unique to show for that. So these 2 people have been crucial over the years to making the chocolate walk a success. You want to move on, Brian? So here is our map from 2014. And I show this because this is the first year we kind of solidified things. We realized that 32 locations was the maximum that we would want. And that had to do largely with the volunteer coordinators that are saying, "Mark, we can't get more volunteers, so stop adding sites." And so at the same time, we realized there were 2 complaints. Number one is, even though you tell people it's 2,000 pieces of candy, sometimes they do less, or sometimes they're just overly generous and they like someone comes by and they're like, they've got a small child that doesn't have a ticket and they give them a piece. So at the end of the day, they start to run out. So that's one of the complaints is, why did they run out? And then the second complaint is sometimes the lines get too long. And so we just realized in 2014, it's like, we just have to stop growing this with numbers and focus on being a good event. And so the way we managed that was, I mean, we would sell out of tickets. We would start sales of tickets, for this event in early October on the 1st of July. And we would sell out of tickets, by the 1st of August. And so we realized that demand exceeded supply. And so we just raised ticket prices and have done that consistently ever since and raised more money that way, but kept the event a little bit special that way, that people realized if they wanted tickets, they had to get them early. On the pictures you see on the top one, we were lucky for the first 15 years or 16 years to have the local cable television station run a show that featured some of our chefs from the Chocolate Walk. So we've got great footage over the years of the chefs and the things that they were making for the Chocolate Walk. So that was a great advertisement, though usually by the time the show ran, the event was already sold out. And in the bottom, you see how people get creative to how they collect all the samples. There's an egg carton there, and each hole is holding something that they got along the Chocolate Walk. And so you'll see people carrying like tool kits, toolboxes, or some craft boxes where it's all segmented and they keep all their samples separate that way. So we've really enjoyed the creativity around that. This year we've obviously had some challenges. I said this is a contact tracer's nightmare to have 2,000 people going to 32 locations. So we had to basically cancel the Chocolate Walk this year. And we've pivoted and replaced it with a drive-up event where we're collecting some samples of chocolate, far less than you'll see in that picture. And they're gonna drive up, they're gonna pop their trunk or rear hatch, and we're gonna toss some chocolate in there. But we're also working with retailers, some of our chocolatiers, to have coupons or some type of promotion to encourage them to stay in town and shop. So this way we can still get them to town and get them to the area, but then hopefully get them to stay and safely benefit the local community. So at that, I'll see if there's any questions.
Mark, when is this year's event?
This year is October 10th. It's
Okay.
always the Monday or the Saturday of Columbus Day weekend. So sometimes
Right.
it's the first Saturday and sometimes it's the second.
How are
Saturday.
ticket sales going for this year's event?
Well, we had a late start this year as we tried to figure out what to do. And we have to really, actually the limiting factor is the number of cars coming through. So we're calculating that we want to handle 1 car a minute, and we're limiting it to 4 hours. So that's basically 240 cars. We're hoping people pack as many people in the cars as possible because we're charging, how many people are in a car. So I see a question from Valerie there. It says, how much do you charge and is the chocolate donated? Yeah, one of the benefits that we have is that we have a major chocolate supplier in town called Wilbur Chocolate. They supply chocolate to candy makers all around the country. And so they actually donate chocolate that our chefs use to make the product. So that does supplement a lot of the cost for the chefs to participate. For the past 2 years, we've charged $40 a ticket. And we've been consistently, like I said, since 2014, raising tickets. The first year was $10 back in 2001. And we probably spent a number of years in the $20 to $25 range. But it was 2014 when we started really, ramping it up and trying to, use the exclusivity of the limited number of tickets to make more money.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark. It was great hearing about the chocolate walk. And one of these years, I hope to make it out there to attend myself.
We'd love to have you.
All right. Well, we want to head on to our third and final section of tonight's presentation. And I'm going to turn it over to Val to talk about COVID-19 impacts on service projects.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I am going to be flying out the next time you have a physical event, because that looks wonderful, and I am a chocoholic. As many of you guys realize, and this is nothing new, but with the pandemic, there have been so many changes that have been going on. And out here, I actually am physically in California, and when we started working through ideas on March 17th, it was like, oh my goodness, you know what? This gives us a perfect opportunity to really look at our clubs and figure out what we do well, what we should continue to be doing, and how we should refocus our events. And so I always tell my clubs, blame it on COVID. If there's something that you were doing before that just doesn't have that same impact on your community, you can say, hey, we're refocusing our service projects, and we're really trying to streamline to be what people need at this point in time. And so we have a number of projects that are going on out there that just need to be done a little bit differently. So sometimes it's the book drives and the food drives. And in my community, we have started giving out food every other day of the week. We feed about 1,000 families per Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And what we've done is we've contacted our local food banks and said, we'll be your person power. We'll do all of the COVID-related responsibilities, and we'll throw in a book with each child. And so that will give them the feeding of the soul, and they've loved it. And so instead of people going to food pantries and food banks, now they're coming to a centralized location at our youth center to be able to do that. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is we have a number of holiday events coming up that normally you would go, okay, maybe not this year because of the contact issues, but I would say don't do that. Really think about how to pivot and make it a little different so that it's more meaningful for people involved in the process. And so one of Sarah's favorites that she said I had to talk about was having your SLPs be more involved with the senior living communities that are out there. Because with a lot of our senior living communities, they've had limited to no contact with outside people since March or April. And so by having SLPs design cards and send them in and their cards of encouragement, that's one way of being involved. But another way is that a lot of the seniors want to communicate back out, and they haven't been able to shop. So if the Key Clubbers design cards, say thinking of you, happy birthday or whatever, and put packs of 10 together so that each senior has cards that they can then mail out, that gives them something to look forward to, and they can continue to be communicating out with people. So it's just flipping the idea. So giving people more for their time and getting the Key Clubbers to do service in a different way. I know, Brian, you're going to go to the next slide. And one of the things that I think is really fun about COVID is most of the things that we used to do in large groups, we can now do from our couches. And it's as simple as the very first project that's on the next slide, which is making face masks and headbands. And so a number of ladies have gotten together, and we've handed out 7,300 masks that are homemade with a bunch of different groups around the country. And what they've done is they get together and they sit down, and they all have their Zoom on. They've got their glass of wine, and they're running their sewing machines while we're all talking in a sewing circle. It's awesome. It is so much fun. And we're seeing what people are doing, and I was gonna look and see if I had one that was in process, but I don't. But one of the things I discovered is I'm not that great of a sewer, and if I'm drinking wine, I'm more likely to hurt myself. And so I was like, okay, there's got to be something else that's out there. And one of my friends at a local hospital said, you know, the little rubber bands that go around my ears hurt so much, and at times it's starting to bleed. And we were thinking about some of the things we'd seen online, and we came up with being able to put buttons on headbands. So if you did a headband and you measured just a little bit above your ears, you put a button on each side, and then the traditional face masks can clip onto that, and it's still secure with your face, and the bottom of your face mask fits below that. It's very, very cool. And I gave you a link to be able to do that. But you know, I can do 25 of those putting on buttons, and I don't bleed, and I can drink. It was so much fun. And it was just another way for us to be able to get together and talk and be able to make that connection, because one of the things that's most important with all of our club members is they want to feel engaged. They want to feel like they're doing something with other people. That's kind of why we joined Kiwanis. If we were all independent and just doing things, we wouldn't be a part of Kiwanis. But this way, we're sewing together and we're having a great time. And I think Marianne's got something that's up there. It's like very cool. But so those are a couple of projects that you can do from your living room, have your phone up and be hanging out with other people. Or in the middle of the night when you're watching movies that none of your kids want to watch, there's the projects that you can do. So Brian, I was gonna show them the next slide, which is another area. And that's doing the holiday service project flip. I'm not sure how many of you do trunk or treat, but it's safe trick-or-treating parties that we used to have. We used to turn our cars in towards the sidewalks, and kids would do their little parades, and they would be all dressed up, and they could reach into the buckets and get as much candy as they want. And at this time of COVID, that's the most horrifying thought ever. Absolutely horrifying to have 500 kids reach into the same bucket and get a lot of candy. And so the flip to this is to turn your cars in towards the driveway, have all of them socially distanced apart, one car length apart, and each person decorate. You have your gloves on, you have your mask on, and as a car drives up, you hand the children the prepackaged candy. It can't be the kind of stuff that you used to make at home. So the popcorn balls and the candied apples and the brownies, that kind of stuff, are out during this kind of process, but you're still able to hand them things. One of the unique things that I love to do, because I'm kind of hooked on McDonald's, is right around July, I start getting Happy Meals. And I ask my friends to all get Happy Meals. And I ask them to collect all the toys from the Happy Meals. And so we can offer a child a Happy Meal toy and a piece of candy in their bag as they're moving along. And so it's kind of fun. And some of the local McDonald's will actually donate their leftover toys that they used in a campaign that happened in early spring if you're asking for it in fall. So right now you might be able to get a lot of the emoji toys at a quarter a piece versus being able to, if you were to buy them independently, be $2. So it's another way to give out treats and things that people might enjoy. But it's turn your car around, have fun with it. And you'll notice in the left-hand corner off to the corner there, that's my mom. And my mom's favorite holiday is Halloween. So for her to get able to dress up and do her whole trunk, she is so excited. And so I called her and I said, Mom, is it okay to use this picture? She said, absolutely. I was already designing the new trunk for this year. And I'm like, cool beans, this is going to be fun. And so I'm very excited to see how this is going to work out this year. For a number of you, you probably do for breakfast with Santa, or Santa gives out toys, or it's kind of something Santa related. And so in the top corner, that was last year, I got to play Elf. I'm not going to be putting that outfit on ever again. It's not the most attractive, but the sentiment was there that we need to do that again this year. The kids absolutely loved it. And I found a Kiwanis club in Wisconsin that has been doing drive-by Santas for the past 15 years. The reason is because it is so cold and it is so cumbersome to get kids all bundled out of their house and bundled into a room to be able to do something with them. So they've been doing drive-by Santas, and their elves stand by and hand out things. And with them, Santa actually goes up to the car and shakes kids' hands. So the modification is to actually have Santa sitting and waving, and to have your elves with their gloves and their masks to be able to hand out candy canes or hand out books or something else that would be a nice fun present as they drive by. And to add a little spice to it, have your Kiwanians come out, do that 6 feet apart social distancing, and do Christmas carols along the side. My club has done something that's breakfast with Santa. And so this year, what we're going to do is we're going to do pre-contained breakfasts in containers. So we'll ask how many people are in the car. We'll hand them that number of breakfasts as well as a present from Santa for each child in the car. And so there'll be 2 stations along the way in a large parking lot by the mall. And I think that's going to be kind of fun and kind of exciting. It's just turn it around. Instead of having people all come to you in a large room, figure out how you can do it in a drive-by situation, or if you have a very tight-knit area where you can go by people's homes and do a bag drop off on their doorsteps. Kids would love seeing Santa drop off a bag at their door. But if your community is really widespread, that may not be feasible. But do a holiday flip. Think about it a little different. So Brian, as we go to one of the next ones, a lot of us do highway cleanup. And with highway cleanup, it's very, very difficult these days to get people together. So what would be really fun is for you to do a quarter-mile cleanup. And what that means is a quarter-mile in front of your house. Everybody schedules a day when they would go out and do this. You wear your Kiwanis gear and you clean up in front of your house or a neighbor's house, and you do 1/8 of a mile one direction, 1/8 of a mile the other direction, and take lots of pictures, but you all are doing the same project on the same day. And so Brian, I'm gonna have you do the last one. This is one of my favorites, and that's because I'm a gearhead. And a lot of people have this fascination with car shows and car clubs. And one of the things that is a great way to get your car show still going on and get donations for that is potentially to do hot rods for hospitals. We did that in Folsom, California. It was absolutely phenomenal because like when I go out to my garage, I had 2 cases of special gloves and several of the N95 masks that were still in their packaged boxes, and my eye protection gear, because any person who works on cars knows you don't want to run out of the stuff that you need when you're in the middle of a project. And so what we did was we set up different stations with different boxes, invited the car clubs to bring their gear by. And so we took pictures of them driving by. They put their gloves, their unused brand new gloves in one box, another eye protection cash donations, and all of it was donated to the local urgent care and response team locations, and it was a huge hit. Now car clubs are doing it on their own in our local area, and it's fun to see when you have 250 to 300 Mustangs driving down the road, and we're going to do a toy drive just the same. We're going to have them bring teddy bears and all that kind of stuff and put them in boxes, and it's going to be a great time. So think about a new twist. And for that one, I just had a great time. And so, and the very last one, I think is I keep saying last, but the last one of these is, I know a number of you crochet and knit, but you only have a little bit of product left over. So one of the things Joann's is doing, and not just Joann's, the fabric store, is they're having you do 4x4 and 6x6 squares, whether you crochet them or knit them, it doesn't matter. And you do as many of those as you want. You drop them off at Joann's, and they put together blankets for foster kids. And right now, that's needed now more than ever. And the reason is because there are more foster kids in our system, especially in some of our urban areas, and the kids do not have blankets and they do not have the things they need as they're going into foster care. So by you giving them to Joann's or a local knit store, they will put them together and bring them back to your local community so your kids benefit. It's a pretty cool deal. For more information, there is a link to that. And we'll go on to the next one. This has been really fun this summer, and it is being able to set up a a challenge where people go out and they chalk their walks. They will do social art projects and have fun. And there's no cost to the event because everybody brings their own chalk. They do it in front of their own homes. They take pictures, they post them up, and you can do a competition to say the best 3 that are voted on by our Kiwanis Club get a special Kiwanis kit. Make it fun. Or just have it be the little competition where everybody's out enjoying the weather while it's nice before it starts to get cold in our areas. And so then the other piece is right now our teachers are pretty depressed because a lot of them are doing distance learning. So you might want to think about creating a teacher scholarship fund or set up a way for people to get classroom supplies so that they can do things at home or put kits together and make it fun. That's one of the things I think is going to be more important than ever right now. It's not just our littles, but it's the people who thrive on giving to our littles and being able to have a good time. I know I've talked a lot, and I've got a bunch of PowerPoints on 75 options on different ways to do this, but I'm going to hand it back to Brian because he's probably going, wow, that girl can talk.
Thank you so much, Val. Those are some awesome ideas, and I'll be honest, I could sit here for another hour listening to all the different ideas you have. But so thank you for sharing all those ideas. At this time, we've heard from each of our presenters, and there are a few questions I think that are still unanswered. But I want to encourage you to take a few minutes. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. I'm going to go back to the very beginning because I think we had a question slip by Marianne. Somebody had asked about the budget, what the budget for your bedtime story was.
Okay, I think I did answer that, but I'll just give a general information piece here. I'm going to say all in all, there's about $250 or $300 involved, and it also depends on what we get donated. A lot of times we have one or two of the members that donate the food and snacks that go on. Our big expense would be the books that we buy, and usually I watch the sales at the Scholastic Book Warehouse and try to get more bang for my buck there and buy them ahead of time when the sales are on. So I try to find out what the theme of our next event is going to be and get books that are appropriate to that. The bags, the Kiwanis bags, I think we get those printed. I think they're like now $1.15 each. So we usually buy 300 or 400, so we get a lower price on that. And the crafts materials, a lot of times it's things that we have in our own homes that we don't have to buy, but I'm going to say no more than $250 or $300 has ever been spent.
Okay, thank you. Val, we have got a couple questions for you up here. Eugene asks, of all the service projects during COVID, which of those projects was most popular?
I think one of the most fun ones that we did was the Easter book giveaway. That was one of the most interesting. We ended up giving away 780 books to kids during the Easter timeline. Normally, what we do is we do a breakfast and baskets and all that kind of fun stuff. And this year, people started calling their friends and saying, although you may not want the breakfast part that you're handing out, you definitely want to go by because every kid's getting a brand new book and a stuffed animal. And so we gave out everything. It was absolutely fun. So.
Great. And then Kathy asked if you charge for the breakfast that you talked about.
No, it's a service to the community. We have a number of Title I schools, and so our thought is whenever we do breakfasts, it is a gift to the community. So.
Okay, great. So I don't see any other questions up here. So we can wait for a few more seconds to see if any more questions come in. Any of our panelists, do you have anything you wanted to add to what you had to say tonight?
I wanted to say thank you so much. This has been absolutely fantastic, and I love the different ideas that we've all been able to share. So this is very cool. Thank you.
Yes, thank you to all of our panelists tonight. There are some great ideas, and I know I'm excited to take some of these ideas back to my own Kiwanis Club here in Greensburg. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah so she can offer some closing remarks.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Some network issues. I don't know what's going on, but I want to obviously thank everyone who presented, who answered the call to help provide an excellent virtual convention with excellent educational and relevant topics for our Kiwanians. So I want to special thanks to presenters, Barb Byers, and all the service leadership program administrators, Matt Wise, Tiffany Kaleo, Jen Baer, Kevin Thomas, of course, this group here, Brian Root, Marianne Maraska, Mark Freeman, and Valerie Brown Klingenhofer. I thank you so much for your time, your dedication, your talents, and volunteering to do this virtual convention and joining me every Monday and Wednesday in August. On behalf of Governor Mike, Governor-designate Don, and myself, we want to thank all the attendees from Pennsylvania and all over the world who have been able to join us during virtual convention in August. It is our first ever virtual convention, so it is a little different for us. It's something new that we're working on, and we were glad to be able to present these relevant topics. COVID-19 didn't stop us, and that's going to be a new motto, unstoppable. We want to be unstoppable, and we hope we'll be able to get more content for you over the year, over this upcoming year, using this technology. So we want to use it as an opportunity. So, Zoom platform is becoming kind of the norm now for some of the meetings that people are having in the clubs. And we're going to also use it at the district more for board meetings or other meetings, but definitely be able to reach out to Kiwanians that normally don't come to district conventions or those regional or divisionals. So we're hoping that this is a kind of a different take and a new opportunity for our district. So I'm very happy that many of you joined us. We've had great attendance. So again, enjoy your evening tonight. And again, thank you to these guys tonight for presenting some awesome service project ideas. You guys didn't disappoint. You guys are awesome for being the last VCON. I know we went over, but I think these are some amazing ideas that all of you guys have shared that could benefit all our clubs here in the district. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And this will be the end of our VCON. Woohoo! So thank you and have a good evening.